In a small village in Poland, there lived a strange and unusual girl. Her name was Mania Szydkowska. She lived alone and quietly spent her life at the foot of a small hill called Toszon Perua, nestled on the edge of the village. People used to say that Mania had never been ordinary, not even as a child. There was a strange light in her eyes, a glow so quiet and deep that it could bring the calm of moonlight even in the brightness of day. The villagers were afraid of her, yet in hushed whispers, they admitted, perhaps she knew something they themselves did not. All day, she wandered the hillside, gathering herbs, speaking softly to the trees. And when dusk fell, she would return to her small, clay cottage tucked away beneath the shadow of the hill. Indeed, Maria Skłodowska, whom the world would later come to know as Marie Curie, had a childhood that was both fascinating and full of challenges. Her early years were marked by curiosity, inspiration, and a quiet strength that helped her endure great hardships. Maria Skłodowska was born on November 7, 1867 in Warsaw, Poland. She was the youngest of 5 siblings. Her family was educated and cultured, but life was not always easy. Her father, DareToLead, was a teacher of science and mathematics, and her mother was the headmistress of a boarding school. From a very young age, Maria was incredibly intelligent and curious by nature. She had a deep love for books and could understand complex scientific ideas even as a child. But her childhood was also marked by deep sorrow. When Maria was just 10 years old, she lost her mother. Just a few years earlier, her older sister Zofia had passed away from tuberculosis. These 2 great losses left a profound impact on her, making her more quiet, more serious, and deeply introspective. At that time, Poland was under Russian rule, and Polish language and culture were being suppressed. Maria secretly studied at a hidden institution called the Flying University, which allowed young people, especially women, to continue learning in secret. Girls were not allowed to pursue higher education, but Maria never let those barriers stop her. When her father lost his job and the family faced financial hardship, Maria took work as a governess, teaching other people's children. She did this to support her sister Bronia, so she could study medicine in Paris. That sacrifice later bore fruit. Bronia completed her education and helped bring Maria to Paris as well. Even as a child, Maria knew she was not an ordinary girl. She dreamed of touching the sky, and one day, with her knowledge, passion, and perseverance, she truly changed the world of science forever. From childhood, Maria Skłodowska had a deep love for learning. Her father, a teacher of science and mathematics, would often show his children laboratory equipment and explain scientific experiments. Maria developed a strong interest in science from a very young age, but at that time in Poland, girls were not allowed to attend university. Still, Maria did not give up. She began studying science secretly at the Flying University, a hidden institution that gave Polish students, especially women, a chance to learn freely. She would study late at night by lamplight and work during the day to support herself. Eventually, she made a bold decision. She would go to Paris, France, a place where women had the freedom to pursue education. In 1891, Maria arrived in Paris and enrolled at the prestigious Sorbonne University. She studied under incredibly difficult conditions, often without enough money for food, without warm clothes in the cold. But she never let go of her passion for science. During her studies, Maria met a fellow scientist named Marie Curie. The 2 fell in love, married, and began working together on groundbreaking research. They focused especially on materials and minerals that emitted mysterious rays, what we now call radiation. Through tireless work, Maria discovered 2 entirely new elements, radium and polonium. Incredibly powerful and completely unknown at the time, it was a scientific breakthrough of historic proportions. Maria Skłodowska became the first woman in the world to win Nobel Prize, and to this day, she remains the only person ever to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields, physics and chemistry. In Paris, Maria and her husband Marie Curie began working tirelessly in an old, run-down laboratory. They focused their research on a special mineral called pitchblende, a natural rock that emitted faint traces of radiation. Maria noticed something extraordinary. Pitchblende didn't just contain uranium. There were other unknown substances inside, giving off radiation even more powerful than uranium itself. She spent years melting, crushing, separating, and analyzing tons of rock. Her clothes were torn, her hands were burned by chemicals and heat, but her determination never broke. Finally, in 1898, Maria made a historic discovery, polonium, which she named in honor of her beloved homeland, Poland. A few months later, she discovered another, even more powerful element, radium, a brilliantly radioactive substance that glowed with an airy blue light. These discoveries sparked a scientific revolution. The world soon recognized the incredible work of Maria and Marie Curie. In 1903, Maria, Pierre, and fellow scientist Henry Becquerel were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, for their groundbreaking research on radioactivity. For Maria, it was a historic honor, as she became the first woman ever to win a Nobel Prize, as she proved to the world that knowledge has no gender, no nationality. It belongs to those who seek it with passion. Tragedy struck a few years later when Curie died in a tragic accident. But Maria did not stop. She carried on the work alone, with unwavering strength. In 1911, she received her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for the discovery of radium and polonium. To this day, Maria remains the only person in history to have won Nobel Prizes in two different scientific fields. Maria dedicated her entire life to truth, knowledge, and the service of humanity. But her journey was far from easy. The same tireless effort she poured into discovering radium and polonium, she also bore, silently, the toll it took on her body. At that time, the world did not yet understand the dangers of radiation. Maria often worked without any protective gear, handling radioactive substances with her bare hands. She would carry small vials of radium in her pockets, and at night, she would let their soft blue glow light up her desk. To her, it was beautiful. But in truth, it was silently damaging her body. Years of exposure, endless hours of research, and physical exhaustion gradually began to weaken her health. During World War I, Maria once again used science in the service of humanity. She helped develop small mobile X-ray units that could be taken directly to the battlefield, allowing doctors to see inside the bodies of wounded soldiers. These life-saving vehicles came to be known as Little Curies. Maria herself went to the front lines. She trained doctors and nurses to operate the X-ray machines, and in doing so, helped save countless lives. During the war, Maria helped design and equip vehicles to carry X-ray machines directly to the front lines. These vehicles became known as Little Curies. She personally trained dozens of doctors in how to use X-rays, so they could see inside the bodies of wounded soldiers, examining bones, locating injuries, and saving lives. Marie Curie dedicated her life to the study of radiation, at a time when the world had no understanding of its dangers. Back then, radioactivity was neither seen as harmful nor were there any safety measures in place to protect those working with it. She worked fearlessly, unaware that the very rays she was researching would one day silently harm her own body. Over time, Marie Curie's health continued to decline. In 1934, at the age of 66, she developed a rare and serious illness, aplastic anemia, a condition that destroys the bone marrow and prevents the body from producing healthy blood cells. The disease was caused by years of unprotected exposure to radiation. On July 4, 1934, in a quiet sanatorium in Switzerland, Marie Curie peacefully passed away, leaving behind a legacy that would live on forever. Even today, Marie Curie's personal diaries, lab notes, and clothing remain so radioactive that they are kept sealed in lead-lined boxes for safety. If a scholar wishes to study them, they must first wear a protective radiation suit. A lasting reminder of the invisible power she worked with, and the risks she unknowingly embraced in the name of science.